Hi guys, it's Kales, and I'm coming at you with my September wrap-up. Let's go ahead and just get it started in no particular order. One of the first ones I want to talk about is Thresholds by Sherry Hirsch. The subline here is how to thrive through life's transitions to live fearlessly and regret-free. This book is a nonfiction work. It is about making transitions in your life and having you come up with ideas and tools to help you overcome those transitions, whether they are small or large. She talks about the meaning of thresholds and how scary making decisions can be and changes in your life that you necessarily can't control. This wasn't like my favorite nonfiction that I've read on this subject. I still liked a lot of the little gems that it had in there, like practice doesn't make things perfect, it only makes things less difficult. And I think it's a really interesting book, a great lesson into that, a great introduction into that too. I think it's a very good introduction book into that. Then we have a book that I listened to on audiobook called Is Everyone Hanging Out With Me by Mikaley. I adored this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had previously read Amy Poehler's Yes Please and Tina Fey's Bossy Pants and Carol Leifer's How to Succeed in Business Without Really Crying. I was like, well, I'm on this female comedian autobiography kick. Let's pick up this one, and it was on audiobook, and I really enjoyed listening to Mindy tell the story as I read the other three rather than listening to the audiobooks, and this made it so much better. I really enjoyed getting to know Mindy so much more because I'm not a big fan of The Office and I've never watched her show, but I think she's brilliant and I love her theater background. I love a lot of the things she had to say, like college ruined me, thinking that I was so big and all great, and then I moved to New York and I'm like this big. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Also is a lot shorter than Yes Please and Bossy Pants. So if you're looking for a place to start to kind of get into the autobiography genre, I would start with this one. I'm also excited to read Mindy's other two books, especially her new one that just came out. Next, I read The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Oh my gosh, I loved this book. I love this book, and the only reason I didn't give it 5 out of 5 stars and I gave it like 4.75 out of 5 stars was because the beginning was really slow for me. And I think that was my fault because I listened to it on audiobook and I couldn't really get into it, so I just got a copy from my library and was like, I'm just gonna sit down and read this, which was so much of a better choice for me. It's about a young girl who lived in Amsterdam in the 17th century, and she gets married off to a man she doesn't know, and she gets wrapped up in the dramas of the household. She gets given this dollhouse, and the dollhouse starts to emulate things in their life. It's so good. I really enjoyed it. I think it was my favorite book I read this month. The next book that I read on my list was Maybe, Maybe Not by Robert Fulghum. I only rated it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and it was like, okay. I liked some of the anecdotes that he presented in there. I loved how he presented the topic of Timshel, and I like his different little stories and how honest he was about them. Sometimes though, I felt like it was just an elderly man talking to me about life experiences, and some of the stories weren't as interesting as other ones. It was good. Felt like more of a short story collection than a nonfiction work, which I'm okay with. I just wasn't my favorite. Another book that I read this month was Girls in White Dresses, which I actually thought this was a nonfiction book when I picked it up, but turns out it was fiction, and it was kind of like a string of short stories as well over the course of like 10 years, and it follows mainly these 3 women who graduate from college and have to start going to all these weddings because all their friends are getting married, and talks about their struggles through early to late 20s in New York and Boston and Chicago and all these places, and I absolutely adored it. I did see that this would make a really excellent TV show, especially if it told different stories about the different women in different episodes and then tying them together subtly like it did in the book. I just was really entertained. I mean, it's fluffy, had Sex and the City reminiscent of, but I originally read it from the library and obviously liked it enough to buy my own copy, so that should tell you something. Okay guys, now here comes my big read of September. I started the Throne of Glass series. I don't have Throne of Glass with me, but I have these, which I got from the library because I couldn't put it down. Overall, I've rated this series about 4 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I say it that way because I find this series really predictable. For those of you who have not heard of this series on BookTube, it's about an assassin in this land of Ardalan. Her name is Selena Sardathian, and she gets chosen for this competition, and a lot of other stuff happens, and you meet the prince and the king of the guard, and there's a lot of great characters, very interesting realm. Selena in of herself is a very dynamic female character who is this badass assassin, but yet still loves luxury and clothes and music and books, and so it's a very interesting character that we don't really see having that well-roundedness today in YA literature, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But for me, I find this series really predictable. I know that sounds bad, but I knew what was going to happen pretty much throughout the whole thing, and I'm not a big one on like plot lines that I can predict, and so I almost put Throne of Glass down and didn't pick up Crown of Midnight, except everyone on BookTube was telling me that they get better as they go, and I was like, okay, fine. I will pick it up and read it. And I will admit, this one was better than Throne of Glass. This one, which is like the novella's prequel dealio of like Selena's past before Throne of Glass starts. This one is okay. This one I had a hard time with because it was even more predictable because we knew what was going to happen at the end of this one. But I enjoyed the novellas where I didn't know what was going to happen. It was like farther back in her past before Sam and her became a thing. And yeah. Overall, yes, I still plan on finishing this series. I'm a little way into Heir of Fire. Like the characters, like the world. I really am enjoying the different dynamics of the world and how intense and how detailed it is. But yeah, so I'm spending a lot of time talking about this one because there were 3 books that I read, even though I'm only holding up 2. I also read The 5 Love Languages, Secrets to a Better Marriage, which I am not married, but I read it because I wanted to learn more about the love languages, and I think I only gave this book like a 2 out of 5 stars, and the only reason I say that is because I grew up knowing about the love languages my whole life, and so I do like learning about the different dialects of the love languages, but I didn't like the way that this nonfiction was written. I also didn't like how absolute he seemed. It was a very fascinating read, and like I said, I did learn a lot, just not my favorite way that it was executed. So that being said, how many books did I read? I don't have them all here because I read a lot. Let me see. I have a list on Goodreads. Why am I counting? 8, 9 books this month. Wow, I was not expecting that. So here are some of them. Not all of them. Some of them. If you've read any of these books or haven't and would like more thorough review on them, I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Just leave a comment below. Until next time, guys. Bye! Can you stop? Stop. Sit. Lay down. Stay. She's just gonna keep making that noise.